Las Vegas. All right. Good afternoon, and a sincere welcome to all of you streaming in from around the world. Welcome to the 2024 Media and Entertainment Innovation Talk here at reInvent. Today, I'm delighted to be diving deep into the reinvention of entertainment, and shortly, I'm going to be joined on this stage by Albert Chang from Prime Video, Leslie Silverman from the United Talent Agency, as well as Fraser Sterling from Comcast, as well as Jaya Kolhatkar from FanDuel. Now, we've got a lot in store for you, so let's get started. The entertainment industry has always been a leader in technology adoption. From the dawn of cinema to today's AI-driven era, innovation has always been in our lifeblood. And today, we're facing four major disruptions. The first is that the entertainment industry is undergoing a vast transformation fueled by generational preferences and the way that content is being consumed. This is resulting in changing consumer behavior, especially in younger audiences. Technology convergence is also being driven by the synergy of cloud computing, data, generative AI, as well as purpose-built services in gaming as well as media that are causing product propositions to come to market faster than ever before. As a result, we're witnessing an unprecedented advancement in digital graphics, in live streaming, as well as in advanced monetization tools. As these two things are coming together, we're seeing a shift towards more immersive, more personalized experiences. As an example, let's take AWS customer Roblox, who is bringing live concerts into their digital worlds. Or another AWS customer, IMAX, who was able to live stream the NBA Finals to theaters across Asia, and they were able to produce that in under 21 days. Or take streaming platforms like Tubi, Prime Video, or Max, who are personalizing their content and their recommendations to ensure really enhanced user experiences. Now, most importantly, our customers are expanding their intellectual property, and they're doing it across multiple domains. They're leveraging their insights from their first-party data across their networks, from their streaming services and their games, to their music and their podcasts, from their theme parks and their live events. They're creating interconnected, data-driven experiences. Now, these disruptions aren't just challenges. They're opportunities for those of you ready to embrace them. The future of entertainment is here, and we believe it's more exciting than ever. And let me tell you why. Despite these disruptions, the industry is projected to hit over $1 trillion in revenue this year, with 35% of that coming from online video and 25% of that coming from games. This growth is being powered by 5.8 billion mobile users consuming content everywhere they're going, at all times. And Gen Z's appetite for social video and live streaming is reshaping this landscape, and we only believe that this is going to proliferate with Gen Alpha. Gaming has also become a global phenomenon, with over 3.5 billion people playing games every week. That's nearly one in every two humans on this planet. And media companies are swiftly adapting to this new reality. These shifts are also creating a very intriguing paradox. Our attention spans are getting much, much shorter, but our demand for interactive and immersive content is only intensifying. In response, our customers recognize that it's no longer sufficient for us to be good at one type of medium. They're diversifying. They're producing live events. They're creating films. They're building their own streaming platforms. They're developing their own games. And they're establishing a presence across every single social media platform that matters in order to meet these evolving audience demands. So the message is clear. The future of entertainment is multidimensional, it's personalized, and it's more engaging than ever. To meet this moment, technology infrastructure must evolve. And AWS provides the deepest industry expertise as well as the most purpose-built tools to help you transform your product offerings and your experiences. AWS is here to help you create content, to connect your workloads, and to captivate your audiences. Now, let me introduce you to some trailblazers who are really leaning into these disruptors to help increase their reach, their relevance, and their revenue worldwide. A great example of convergence in entertainment can be seen by what's happening in Epic Games. Epic is a leading interactive gaming company. They also are a provider of 3D engine technology. It operates one of the world's largest games Fortnite, maybe some of you have heard of it, yeah? And it also develops Unreal Engine, which powers many of the world's leading games. It's also adopted across industries, such as film and television, broadcast and live events, but also automotive, fashion, architecture, and simulation. IP convergence has played a major role in Fortnite's evolution because it's able to engage brands and artists across social experiences. As an example, millions of players simultaneously experience Fortnite's content through live events and concerts. Like most recently, the Chapter 2 remix The Prelude, which was headlined by Ice Spice and Snoop Dogg. The press reported that over 10 million players tuned in the game, with millions more watching online, not to mention everybody who showed up physically in Times Square where the event was live streamed. AWS is working with Epic to help introduce new ways to help artists and brands bring that dynamic content into Fortnite, as well as introduce AWS customers to Epic's technology to empower convergence across mediums. The reason why Epic's tools and AWS's cloud work so well together is because convergence takes place, and these digital assets can be created once and used across many different platforms. We see this as an important element in empowering creators to build more high-quality experiences that will span across their content platforms. Now, let's shift to another AWS customer, the New York Times, as a great example of channel convergence. With global readership that exceeds over 220 million, the Times has evolved beyond traditional publishing. They're now a multifaceted media company encompassing gaming and streaming. Their viral word game, Wordle, engages many daily. Maybe some of you guys are playing it. And they are also embarking in live streaming with the streaming of presidential debates on their platforms, as well as offering AR experience to make their news content much more interactive. This diversification shows how the Times is expanding their subscriber experiences beyond that of just journalism. One more example I want to share is NBC Universal. AWS has been collaborating with NBC Universal to enhance their streaming experiences and boost their reach and their monetization across Peacock, as well as their other direct-to-consumer applications. We've worked with NBC Universal to support many large live events, including Beijing and Tokyo Olympics, the Super Bowl, the AFC wildcard games, and recently, the Paris Olympics. For Paris, NBCU delivered 4K HDR with Dolby Atmos audio. Media was ingested in Paris, and it was moved to the AWS cloud and made available to their producers and editors in Stamford, Connecticut via AWS services, and they were able to use that for their broadcast and production needs. NBCU also utilized AWS's live cloud production services for the US gymnastics coverage. This ultimately increased their flexibility and helped reduce their costs. As a result, NBC Universal tripled their content output. They produced 7,000 hours for Paris compared to 2,000 hours for Tokyo. They also implemented a merged digital and linear monetization process, driving efficiencies across their 20 properties. This showcases how AWS enables media companies to scale their operations and innovate in content delivery and in monetization. These examples, Epic Games, the New York Times, NBC Universal, they showcase how leading companies are leveraging AWS services to navigate this current media convergence. Now, I want all of you to hear directly from industry leaders who are at the forefront of this reinvention. Please join me in welcoming Leslie Silverman and Albert Chang to the stage. For joining me. So before we get started, do you mind just introducing your companies and what you do there? Maybe Leslie, we can start with you.
Sure. First of all, thank you, Samira, and thank you to AWS. This is my first time at reInvent, and so far it's been absolutely amazing. So good afternoon. My name's Leslie Silverman, and I'm the head of new tech at UTA. UTA is a global leading talent agency. We're based in Hollywood. We represent athletes, creative individuals, artists, and brands, and we're helping to find meaningful intersections with entertainment and business. That's our job. And my role at UTA in new tech is to create meaningful partnerships between our clients and innovative technology companies, like some of you who are in the audience. And because we kind of speak the language of tech at UTA, we can bridge that gap more seamlessly.
And Leslie's going to not like me for doing this, but I want to just congratulate her. Today, The Wrap listed their 2024 list of changemakers. This list includes celebrities like Selena Gomez and Ariana Grande, as well as Jen Salke from MGM Studios, Donna Walden from NBC Universal, and they also named Leslie Silverman today. So let's give her a round of applause.
Very kind, and I am going to kill you for doing that.
Super exciting to share the stage with you. So Albert, can you
Yeah.
introduce what you do at Prime Video?
Hi, I'm Albert Chang, and thanks a lot for having me here, Samira.
Have you?
I oversee Prime Video, which is also part of the Amazon family. And what we do is we stream content, and lots of it. And we basically are in over 200 million homes, Prime subscribers. And it's been really great just seeing the evolution of this. I've been at Amazon for almost 10 years, and just seeing the growth of Prime Video and Amazon MGM Studios over that period of time, and also working really closely with AWS in building the future of entertainment and media.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. So the first question I wanted to ask you is, as you probably heard backstage, I went really deep into some of the trends and disruptors that are occurring across the industry. And I thought as business leaders, you could share with the audience how you're really leaning into these disruptors to help Prime Video and the United Talent Agency and the clients you represent really increase their reach, become much more relevant, and also increase the revenue for your organizations. So maybe, Albert, I can start with you?
Yeah, sure. One of the things that we really started to do some research around in terms of what our customers wanted was to understand the streaming landscapes. And one of the things that we started to understand from consumers today is that they're incredibly stressed. And why are they stressed? Because there's just a lot of streaming services, almost too many. And just to juggle around, different subscriptions, prices, bundles, so many different apps. But what they're really hoping for is having just one app. And I think that's been part of our sort of roadmap and our vision, is to be the one app that incorporates all the different content types, all the different offers, all in one experience, and making it extremely personalized, immersive, and relevant to our Prime customer base and non-Prime customers as well. The other thing that we've also started to see we're in the business of streaming, it is incredibly global. And in order to succeed, you have to be a really globally scaled streaming service. And there are only a handful, I could say, that's in that category: YouTube, obviously, Netflix, and Prime Video. And so it's really important that we are looking at our customers completely all over the world. It can't just be about the US anymore. And the last thing that's really that we're seeing in terms of how we're dealing with the evolution is streaming is going to be the dominant form in how people get content. It's already surpassed broadcast, it's already surpassed cable, and it's going to be the primary way that people get content. And it's going to be really important for media companies to understand how to migrate and transition to that. And we're seeing essentially a lot of different formats moved from traditional legacy media to streaming. And I used to think that, broadcast and cable, no one likes to watch those TV shows that are meant for older demos. But the reality is that we've seen formats gone from legacy media to streaming and do just as well. And the demos actually reflect the age demos of that platform. So if you're in traditional media and doing a game show or whatever show you don't think that works on digital, you couldn't be more wrong. These things can work. You just have to make sure that you're there. So it's going to be really important to see how you can take things that were traditionally consumed on legacy TV and find an audience on streaming, because they do exist. And it's not just about short form. Long form will also work in a living room environment.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. Can I turn to you, Leslie, to add your insights?
Sure. Before I answer that, though, while we're in the business of calling people out, I had that customer experience recently where I was looking for an obscure documentary. I went to Prime Video, I searched, I found it, I went through this portal to another platform, and voila, so, I am your customer. So, you said it perfectly. We're in a time of, just maximum disruption. There's the new types of content. There's unprecedented ways of accessing that content. Right. And certainly, like, our clients are sort of at the center of that. Like, our clients are the stars of that content. And so I don't know if you talked about super fandom, but that's really like what we're experiencing today, is that we have these clients who have audiences that will follow them to any platform that they're on, and we're really seeing that, because our, at UTA, our customer is our client. These are the clients who are sort of changing the way we think about creative expression, and so we're really focused on them, and that's how we're sort of navigating through disruption. Our clients are also the first often to pick up and experiment with new tools. So in that way, when they talk to us about that experimentation, we can sort of see where the puck is heading. And that helps us really drive, you talked about reach, relevance, and revenue. We think about it as education, partnership, and deal making. Mm-hmm. So on the educational front, we have to really set a foundation when it comes to innovation. Like, we can't just dive in, race to adoption. We have to, create a foundation for our clients. So at UTA, over the past year and a half, with the rise of Gen AI tools, we've been hosting these kind of closed door symposia for not just our clients, but also our colleagues and our community, bringing in thought leaders from this space, including our partners in the guilds, and having conversations about what's going to happen and how is our industry going to change. And so we do a lot in terms of like laying that foundation of education, and then partnership. Like, we're listening to our clients, we're listening to the entertainment community through our industry leading IQ division, kind of synthesizing data and sentiment, so we know kind of where we're going, and we can be prepared for that, and our clients can sort of be future-proofed for this next wave.
And I think that's a perfect segue to this next question, because I think you're really tapping into paying attention to the signals, ascertaining the data, and then making really strategic directions about where you want to go next. And speaking about the future, we had an unprecedented couple of years at Prime Video, from last year's first ever NFL Black Friday game to just a few weeks ago, where for the first time Prime Video aired presidential election coverage. I mean, that was really remarkable. And Leslie, to see what you're doing now to help blur the lines for the talent that you represent relative to how they can both be creatives and producers and distributors of their own brands, it's really quite remarkable. So all of that exciting opportunity certainly comes with challenges, and I wanted to maybe tap into some of the challenges that you're helping your organizations navigate as part of that. Maybe, Albert, I can come to you first.
Yeah. What's really been an awesome to see is that Prime Video is in the live business. So, Samira, as you talked about, yeah. we did Thursday Night Football for a while now, Black Friday, election coverage, and that's just the live streaming that we do with our own content. Right. We also partner with Paramount and Max and all of other channel partners that also have sports. Mm-hmm. So if you think about the live business that we have across the entire Prime Video platform, it's a lot of sports globally, because we also have English Premier League as well, right, all happening at the same time. So if you think about all that sports, all those concurrent streams on the size of Thursday Night Football, you would think that some of the challenges are sort of capacity planning and how we make sure we have enough of it to be able to support that demand. The reality is that we've been in it for so long now, and long meaning, a couple of years. It's actually part of our SOP. So the idea that we don't have enough capacity is almost not even something that comes to mind. It's like, yep, we know how to do it. We plan ahead. We know how to get and be prepared for the demand that we're getting for their live sports. Mm-hmm. So a lot of our focus in the tech and the product teams are really focused on the challenges of how to improve the customer experience. And it's really about how quickly can you innovate, the speed of innovation, of how you can actually use generative AI or personalization to really make these experiences the next generation. Right. And so that's what the team's been focused on. They've done amazing things with Prime Insights. If you watch Thursday Night Football, it could do predictive analytics. It could talk to you about defensive results of which player is going to actually rush the quarterback before the hike. There's a lot of these different things to sort of create new ways of enhancing that, enriching that experience. Mm-hmm. And that's where the focus has been.
That's awesome. And how about you, Leslie? How are you helping to navigate some of the challenges that have come up based off of some of these opportunities?
Yeah, so just to zoom in a little on, I mentioned Gen AI, like this is a technology that sort of emerged in the midst of two strikes following a pandemic. So here we are, we have all of these kind of polarizing viewpoints on this technology, and we have clients who are in the camp of like, let me pick up an experiment, and we have clients who are in the camp of never touching that, you know, and a broad spectrum in between. So I mentioned our IQ division. We actually conducted a study of the creative industry over the summer, and what we found is that 3 out of 4 creatives felt that generative AI was going to elevate content. 70% of creative professionals are using AI in some way in their workflows. Okay,
Wow.
so we know that adoption is happening. So if it's happening, how do we help our clients find meaningful opportunities in this space? So I'll give you an example. It was recently announced our client Aquafina partnered with Meta. Yeah, she's incredible. And she has this sort of iconic voice. So no surprise that Meta, as they're rolling out a new AI voice product, came to us and said, hey, we want to work with Aquafina. We want her to be the voice that you can engage with across our communication platforms. Great. It sounds like an endorsement deal, but it's actually a lot more complex. So we have to think about the complexities and the potential concerns of our clients partnering and actually training Gen AI on their voice. And so in order to do that, we said to Meta, this is great, this is fantastic. I think she wants to do this, and go talk to SAG. So we work really closely, kind of hand in hand with our industry partners in the guilds to ensure that our clients are sort of getting the benefit of what is our industry standard, especially when it comes to new and emerging technologies. And so there's this incredible partnership that came about, and it was announced recently, and you can actually engage with Aquafina.
And again, another perfect segue, Leslie, to my next question, and that was a fantastic answer, so thank you for that. Based off of this rapid innovation that we're seeing across artificial intelligence, how are you working with your technical teams within UTA and in Prime Video specifically in order to be able to make some of these new innovations a reality? I know we just talked about this example of the digital voice. But I'd like to understand a bit, go a bit deeper and a bit more. So maybe Albert, we can come back to you.
Yeah, sure. With Gen AI, there are 2 things that we want to use and leverage the technology for. One is to improve discovery of content with so many titles and how largely scaled we are. The second is really how do we improve that experience in terms of consuming on Prime Video. So with discovery, there's a lot of work that's been done with AWS in terms of creating something called Made for You, and these are personalized recommendations down to the individual level, and that's working with Amazon Bedrock with some foundational models to build those recommendations. The second thing that we've also done is called X-ray recaps, and that's sort of the summarizing of seasons, full seasons, some episodes, moments that it takes a lot of people to have to write all of them. So Gen AI working with Amazon Bedrock as well in terms of those models, in addition to some customized AI applications built with Amazon SageMaker. Those things all are sort of all these technologies are meant to kind of drive better sort of discoveries into the experience.
Well, I think that's great. I actually mentioned that as one of the key disruptors at the forefront of the conversation. I think you leaning into making these experiences so much more personalized and leveraging the generative AI services from AWS to make that a reality, very, very powerful use cases. And Leslie, can I come back to you?
Yeah, sure. So, innovation is sort of in UTA's DNA. I've been at the company for 9 years, and I've watched us kind of set up new businesses around digital content creators at the launch of YouTube and podcasting and digital assets. And so this is, this kind of era of Gen AI and this era of disruption that we're talking about is not new for us. And because we're nimble and we're entrepreneurial and we sort of get to scale naturally in very close partnership with our clients and what it is that they want and need, this is just another kind of extension of how we grow our business to be of maximum service to our clients and the creative individuals that we represent. And we also, when we identify a new technology that could potentially be a new set of creative tools or a platform, we are then signing talent and signing companies in these new areas. So a couple of examples, we represent Shy Kids, who made a film using Gen AI tools called Airhead that just went completely viral. We also represent Nick Cleveroff and his company Native Foreign. They recently worked in close contact with the CMO at Toys R Us to make the first Gen AI brand film. So we're kind of watching this innovation happening in front of us and watching our clients adopt tools in front of us and then building business and resources around these innovative thinkers.
I love that. You're really leaning into these signals, these disruptors, in order to be able to provide your customers, your clients, right,
That's
with
right.
that competitive edge. Really well said. So Albert, my next question is specifically for you. We're both part of the Amazon family, right? Amazon Studios and Prime Video, AWS, but we definitely treat you like a customer, the same way we would treat any other streaming service or studio customer. Can you talk a bit about how your use of AWS services has helped to accelerate the way that Prime Video and MGM Studios, Amazon MGM Studios, are able to create content and distribute that content at scale?
Yeah, I think the partnership's been really productive. I think, one, we've always had sort of this technology sort of focused way of making content or distributing content. And having AWS as sort of a partner in really figuring out how to solve these problems has been incredibly useful. What the partnership's been really impactful because we're dealing with real world problems that the entertainment companies are facing, whether it be how do we launch production for The Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power using cloud-based technologies? How do we think about using Gen AI for Prime Video? These are all these things are, because we're so close to it, it's been really helpful. And then once we figured out these solutions, working with AWS, the expertise that AWS has really is, well, how do we scale these solutions that can benefit the broader industry at large? And so that's been really impactful. It's really helped us spin things up very quickly. So I mentioned Rings of Power. That was like in a huge production, and we were basically managing it from in Culver City. The team was in New Zealand. This was all happening during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So it was by necessity we had to create ways of figuring out how to use cloud-based technologies to kind of keep the production moving.
Right.
And then spinning up election coverage. Literally we decided let's cover the U.S. elections, and that was pretty quick in terms of being able to work with AWS and spin up a live stream for us. So it's been great.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing those insights. So I think my final question for you is really reaching into this notion of the fact that it can no longer be domestic. You both teed it up beforehand. International presence is paramount for all companies who want to be able to continue to stay relevant, increase their reach, and obviously diversify their revenue streams. What strategy would you advise the audience on relative to being able to capitalize on international opportunities, and how can they stay ahead of the curve?
We talk about relevance. If you really want to be a global company, localization becomes incredibly important. And the better, the better we get at really being accurate, not in terms of text, but also subtitling dubs, which is, I think, sort of the next level localization of being able to literally have voices and lips move into a different language very quickly. That can transform, especially the media industry, and especially companies and media companies that don't get a global audience that often. So if you think about sort of, like Americans create a huge, it's an export. We create a lot of content and movies and TV that gets exported. We translate it. But we've actually seen where smaller films, smaller TV shows, smaller meaning coming from other countries, become global hits because they've been able to be translated or dubbed. And that's the opportunity where you see a lot of talented people all over the world be able to distribute because we've put the effort and investment into making a localized product. And I think that's the more we can figure out how to invest in that to become a real incredible experience to anyone and anywhere in the world. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think that provides a beautiful talent extension as well. I think, Leslie, I can come to you to add on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we are a global business, and our clients are global household names. And so, when we think about advances in technology around things like dubbing and localization of content, that's incredibly relevant today for the creators that we represent, especially the digital content creators who are speaking in real time to audiences all the time, across every platform. And so, there's a lot actually that's happening in the startup sector in this sort of area. Shout out to AWS Startups too, is a tremendous partner to us. A lot of interesting things happening in that area that I think our clients are going to want to embrace to help extend their audiences globally.
And that's a perfect tease, both of you, for some of the demonstrations I'm going to be showing in a minute. Fantastic. Well, with that, I want to thank you both for being on the stage, sharing your insights. Can we give them a round of applause?
Thank you.
Okay. So up until now, you've heard about the trends that have been occurring in the industry, and you just heard from some of our customers on how they're leaning into these disruptors in order to really increase their reach, as well as their revenue and their relevance worldwide. Now I want to shift the conversation towards the technology and the tools that are going to make this a reality. AWS has over 240 fully featured services across every imaginable workload. And behind me, you can see a composite of those that have specifically been designed to serve the needs of our media, entertainment, games, and sports customers. And we keep investing and expanding in this portfolio to respond to your needs. And while I can't talk about everything that's going to come, if history is any indication, you can bet that we're going to continue to produce more. So let's look at the investments that we made over the last 15 years to serve this industry. In November of 2008, we launched Amazon CloudFront CDN. And 1 year later, it was streaming audio and video, meeting the demands of the industry as well as the internet. October in 2015 also represented a pivotal moment for us when we acquired Elemental Technologies. 2 years later, AWS Elemental Media Services were launched, revolutionizing the way that customers are able to set up broadcast quality channels. They were able to do things like encoding and transcoding and packaging in the cloud. These were things that were never done before. Amazon GameLift launched right around that same time in 2016, and we were able to bring to market some of the most purpose-built game servers for hosting to power the most demanding games around the world. And from 2020 to 2024, we responded to key industry demands. We were able to launch services like AWS Cloud Digital Interface, AWS Elemental Media Tailor, as well as AWS Entity Resolution. And these enabled us to transport uncompressed video with super low latency, as well as provide real-time interactive streaming experiences and advanced advertising solutions. 2024 has been our busiest year yet. We launched AWS Deadline Cloud, slashing render farm setup times from weeks to just minutes. We also improved GameLift, which now supports fully managed containers. We also enhanced Media Package to have cross-region failover. And just recently at the International Broadcast Show, we launched Media Live Anywhere for cloud control and coding, just to name a few. And while this 15-year journey of service launches is impressive, it's the transformative outcomes that we've been able to produce for our customers that are truly impacting the industry. From being able to support the first Prime Video Thursday night football stream to the launches of Disney Plus and Peacock and Max, we've been at the forefront supporting our customers. We have rendered thousands of VFX shots for blockbusters such as the Lord of the Rings and Avatar. We've facilitated record-breaking streams such as the Cricket World Cup, which had nearly 60 million concurrent users on Hotstar. And we also hosted, as I mentioned before, the 2024 Paris Olympics for multiple customers internationally who are producing and distributing that content. Over 1 billion consumers receive their streaming content through the AWS services, and 750 million gamers worldwide are playing games built on AWS every single month. At every step, we're working backwards from our customers' needs, and we're pushing the boundaries of what's possible in entertainment. AWS is not just supporting the industry. We're here to help shape its future. Speaking of the future, AWS is at the forefront, empowering our customers to harness new technology in groundbreaking ways. Just like the way that we are embracing generative AI tools to tackle the very complex challenges of today's modern production needs. Today, I'm going to highlight 5 areas where we feel like our customers can leverage AWS services to really create a competitive advantage. These areas include archive and restoration, localization, as you heard from Albert, video semantic understanding, game development, and hyper-personalization. We're witnessing remarkable innovations, particularly in the areas of sports, and I'm going to talk a bit about that in a moment, in areas like with customers like the Formula One, the PGA Tour, Bundesliga, and NFL leading the charge. Now, I want to take a moment to zoom in on localization, a critical use case for our industry. Localization is extremely important because it allows us to be able to take content that was produced in one language and one geography and now extend its reach to new audiences worldwide. Generative AI allows the same voice to be used over multiple different languages. Moreover, advanced dubbing techniques can synchronize an actor's mouth and lip movements with translated speech, creating a seamless and natural viewing experience. To illustrate this, I want to share with you a brief demonstration from one of our many AWS partners innovating in this space.
Hi everyone, my name is Maya, and we are going to localize content using DeepDubGo.
Supongo que no estamos invitados.
Sois bienvenidos. Eres el invitado de honor.
No estoy seguro de poder hacerlo.
Now, let's create the English version.
My stupid brother locked me out of the house. Johnny, come on, man, open the door!
Now, I have the power to choose how involved I want to be in the process. I can create glossaries for my content and ensure correct pronunciations.
Not sure I can make it. I have a lot of offers.
I can change the text and improve lip sync.
Not sure I can make it. I might have plans, dude.
I can give my characters any accent.
Not sure I can make it. I might have plans, dude.
And even, being the control freak that I am, give the system the exact performance I'm looking for.
Why can't you just go?
Why can't you just go?
Yep, it's that easy.
That's awesome, right? Right? So you can see the potential for generative AI entertainment in truly transformative and slightly whimsical ways. Now, I also mentioned archive for video as well as video semantic understanding as being very popular use cases for media companies. And I really want to instill in all of you that this can be done right now with solutions like AWS's Media to Cloud, which leverages Anthropic's Claude models to facilitate the migration of your digital assets to the cloud, allowing you to take full advantage of the latest advancements in asset management. Now, I'm going to play a demonstration and I'm going to talk over it with you so you can really get a sense of what's going on. Behind me, here you're looking at Amazon Q, which is AWS's AI-powered assistant, and it's going to be used to search for content using natural language. So in this example, we are looking for fashion-related video content from Prime Video's archives. Is rolling, right? Yeah. And as you can see here, it allows us to discover content seamlessly. Now, once the results come in, if we can keep scrolling, team, we are able to select the content that we want to dive into. And in this case, we want to dive into a show called Making the Cut. All right. Media to Cloud is leveraging AI/ML to extract metadata from the visual and audio elements of the content with Amazon Bedrock, and as I mentioned before, Anthropic Claude. Even more rich information is being provided through that metadata tagging, such as IAB taxonomies, brands and logos, sentiment and summary at the scene, or at the camera shot level. It would require hours of effort for an operator to log this amount of information, and this is being done in minutes with Media to Cloud. We also want to be able to see how we can best monetize this video, and as you can see that time clicker counting down 5, 2, 3, 2, 1, those are areas where we are being able to provide automated ad break detection for you. This is a feature in Media to Cloud that will tell you where the most natural breaks occur, and this is based on shot changes as well as the context of the video itself. These ad breaks are generated in seconds, versus you having to watch the entire video and have to piece that together yourself. And when we click on an ad break, as you saw previously, Media to Cloud has already pulled that relevant metadata. And while those ad breaks are also presented to you, you have a whole other trough of very rich information at your disposal. It provides you with summaries and existing brand detection. It provides you with sentiment scores, as well as content topics, and as I mentioned before, GARM and IAB taxonomies, so that you can really understand the suitability of that content for an advertiser. Right? That's the power of semantic video understanding in motion, which is something that we're very excited about, and as I mentioned before, it's available to you today. Now let's talk about a customer that's actually using this today, which is Formula One. By leveraging AWS's media to cloud solution, F1 has ingested over 4 petabytes of historical footage onto Amazon S3, while also building the infrastructure to be able to ingest live footage from future races. Why does this matter? It's because they're able to now enhance metadata tagging, as well as provide effortless search across over 150,000 hours of content spanning decades. This partnership with Formula One demonstrates how AWS can really work closely with our customers across industries to produce solutions that matter. Another remarkable customer that's leveraging our services to enhance the fan experience and really leverage generative AI in novel ways is the NFL. Now, they have numerous use cases that they're leveraging with us, and I want to zoom in on 3. First is the first use case I want to talk about is how their production teams are leveraging AWS's technology to rapidly locate crucial footage. For instance, they can use natural language queries to be able to search the historical next-gen stats database, pinpointing specific plays in seconds. Next, in collaboration with the NFL, AWS is applying generative AI to help them restore as well as repair historical content. This is very important as we want to help them preserve the league's rich visual history. And finally, AWS is rolling out Amazon Q, our AI-powered assistant, to help them across key areas of their operations. This strategic implementation is going to help them immediately provide improvements that will yield efficiencies. Underlying all of these innovations is a very robust and modern data strategy. The NFL is harnessing AWS services to process over 500 million points of data every season, creating this solid foundation for them to be able to create these AI outcomes. Now, this partnership exemplifies how generative AI, coupled with an advanced data management strategy, is revolutionizing how sports media and operations can occur. To hear more about our new and very exciting generative AI innovations, I encourage all of you to tune into our CEO's keynote tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. All right, so as generative AI is revolutionizing how entertainment companies are delivering and engaging experiences across our channels, our customers are eager, as I mentioned before, to reinvent these experiences. And we just saw how the F1 and the NFL are doing it, and they're leveraging cloud-based multimodal data storage to accelerate that reinvention. However, with traditional identifiers becoming obsolete, gaining a 360-degree view of an audience without user authentication is more crucial than ever before. But often, to gain insights at scale, our customers needed to enrich their own first-party data by collaborating with partners whose data sets contain valuable insights, such as what their audiences are doing, their shopping preferences, social interaction, their customer support needs. And that's why 2 years ago, we launched AWS Clean Rooms to address this challenge. It enables secure collaboration between companies and their partners without copying or sharing data sources. Now, we've seen remarkable progress with AWS Clean Rooms with customers like Adobe and Amazon Ads, Omnicom, and LiveRamp, just to name a few. Yet sometimes, those data sets may be stored outside of AWS. That's why today, I'm thrilled to announce AWS Clean Rooms now supports multiple data sources and clouds. You can clap, because that's awesome. We are starting with Snowflake so you can gain insights, collaborating with your partners' data sets, even if they're not on AWS, and it's with zero ETL. None of this data is stored in AWS, and the insights gained during Clean Rooms analysis are deleted once the queries are completed. Now, let me contextualize this for you, if that didn't really make sense. If you are a media company and you're needing advertising campaign insights or results from a partner or a measurement company, and their data sets are not on AWS, with this announcement, you can now safely collaborate with them without having to move or copy or share each other's data. As a result of this announcement, you can now gain insights across more mediums, match and enhance customer records, and create a unified view of your audience. You could apply machine learning models to create lookalike segments with your partners, and you can improve media planning and performance. And by the way, we're just getting started. You can expect more expansions coming soon. All right, so now I want to take a giant step back so we can really understand a more complete picture of how AWS is really involved in the entertainment industry at large. Whether our customers are like our studios like Untold or Weta FX or Pixar, or they're game developers like Scopely and Sony and Riot Games, or they're content distributors like Nippon TV, Fox or Netflix, or sports leagues like the Bundesliga and the NHL, or betting and gaming companies like Flutter and Dream11, our top priority is helping them drive engagement. Now, I'd like to welcome to the stage our next set of guests to talk a bit more about the technology required to reinvent entertainment and some of the considerations that we need to keep in mind. These two guests are living at the cutting edge of reinvention, from delighting audiences and fans with new viewing platforms to enhancing sports fandom with a leading betting platform that reaches millions across North America. Please join me in welcoming Fraser and Jaya to the stage. Thanks for coming. Hello. Thanks for joining me.
Hello, hello. How are you?
Hello. So Fraser, Jaya, I thought we could start the same way that we did with Leslie and Fraser. Can you just, with Leslie and Albert, excuse me, can you just introduce a bit more about your companies and what you do there? Fraser, let's start with you.
Yeah. So Comcast, we're actually more global than you think. So our team's sort of the product team. We look after anything that's a product or a thing. And that covers sort of North America, obviously, with Comcast, Sky in Europe. And as we've got a thriving syndication business as well. So we sell our products and services to Canada, Australia, all over the place. So yeah, we're busy.
Love it. Well, thank you for that. And Jaya, can we come to you?
Sure. I'm Jaya Kolatkar. I work at FanDuel. FanDuel is the North American brand that is owned by Flutter Entertainment. Flutter is one of the world's largest sports betting and gaming companies, and they have a very large portfolio of global companies that are in different markets. I lead the data team at FanDuel. FanDuel is a direct-to-consumer company, and so data is a really important part of how we enable great customer experiences. My team and I build out all of the data infrastructure. We build out frameworks for insight creation, analytics, and then we also build and deploy algorithms that operationalize some of the insights that we have for all of our business.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. And as you also heard backstage, we've really been diving deep into trends, ways in which business leaders are leaning into those disruptors to be able to increase reach, relevance, and revenue. We just did a primer on some of the technology as well as some of the newest announcements that we're making. And I thought we could turn now to hear how Comcast and FanDuel are specifically leaning into the technology in order to meet this evolving audience demand. So, Fraser, can we start with you?
Yeah, I think I think all the best entertainment experiences always start with like amazing connectivity, and I think that's obviously a humongously core part of our business globally. So we think about the connectivity to the home. Amazing work we've done on all of the unbelievable stuff on virtualizing that network across North America. The connectivity in the home, which is essential. Wi-Fi is at the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, as we all know.
Yes,
exactly.
I felt that in my hotel room this morning. Yes.
And then obviously outside the home as well, mobile, and we, believe it or not, we've got 23 million hotspots around North America. It's like the biggest Wi-Fi network out there in North America. So that's really, really important. More and more, all those networks are becoming more virtualized, a lot more software driven. So that's essential. You've got to stay on top of that. Mm-hmm. I think as well, when we start to think about the entertainment experiences, I think we are uniquely placed, I think, because we like to think about the experiences, the glass of the camera, all the way to the glass of the screen in your home or the glass of the screen in your pocket, and thinking about how we can innovate in that. So we do that from production. We've just launched this amazing thing called Sky Sports Plus in the UK, which really taken all these unbelievable games, EFL, for any EFL fans out there, you're missing out if you're not getting that. And that's like thousands of hours of more sports this year, all delivered in this amazingly innovative way in production. And then in the home, obviously, it's about never getting in between customers and the content they love. And that's changed a lot over the last few years. It's not just about TV. TV's totally awesome. But obviously entertainment is so much more than that for people now. So it's games, it's music, it's all the things that people consider entertainment. So we take that quite seriously. And I think like it's about staying on top of that technology, picking the things that are on the rise, trying to bet in the right areas to do that. And I think our focus underneath all of that is to always make sure that we're building things and choosing technologies that are there to like make the customer experience better. Technology for the sake of technology is cool, don't get me wrong, but like it's even cooler and even better if it's amazing technology that's there to solve a customer problem or issue.
Yeah. Well said. Jai, can I come to you?
You know, all this wonderful technology that he's creating does create problems on the data side. How do you bring all of these diverse pieces of content that are being created in different places? There's the live events, of course, but there's a lot of research, there's a lot of social media. All of these things do impact our customer experience. They impact, the way we run our business. They impact how our customers view betting on sports. And so figuring out how to bring that data into our infrastructure, figuring out what is the most important signals that we need to capture, how to stitch it all together, those are things that we are leveraging new technologies for to help us bridge the gap between real time and then sometimes not so real time articles, things like that, that we have to all stitch together.
Yeah. So I want to double click on something that you both said, which is being able to prepare the network architecture to be able to handle these evolving needs for the audiences. And I think live events and sports specifically, you mentioned EFL, are key examples of where we really need to prepare very scalably. Can you talk about a bit about how Comcast right now is preparing for those live events?
Yeah, well, there's two ways to think about it. One is preparation. I think that, for example, you sort of mentioned it. We had the wildcard event earlier in the year. It seems like a long time ago, but I think it's
that
still
was this year. Yeah.
My goodness. But at that time, on that night, that was 30% of the traffic in North America. Was that
30% traffic of the internet?
Of the internet was that wildcard game. So partnership is key and preparation is key for that. You can't leave any stone unturned, and no amount of technology can surpass preparation. And like that isn't just us, right? At the end of the day, it's not just one company or one team that's able to deliver it. It's partnership that has to do that as well. So working with you guys, working with all the CDN providers, making sure that like at the end of the day, customers are paying for that experience and they should get that. So preparation is fundamental to make that. It's hard to do that kind of thing. You got to remember, on the other hand, it's 70% of the internet was still there, doing other stuff at the same time, right? So there's that too. And I think the other part of it is really the only thing, as my grandpa would say, the only thing you're guaranteed in life is change, right? So you've got to be architecting and sort of preparing for that change. And just last week, and in fact this weekend, another biggest nights on the internet are there, right? Because you've got Call of Duty happening, you've got Fortnite happening, you've got the Eagles dominating. Go Birds, right? And for the Thursday night football. So all these things are coming along. You don't always expect it. So preparation is key, but also planning for change and having the architecture to deal with that change. It's an ever-evolving thing, and you're always chasing it, but that's what makes it fun.
Absolutely. Jen, any insights you would provide relative to preparation?
Preparation is, of course, key, and that's something that we do a lot of. The other thing that I feel, especially in the data space, it's very easy to build complicated infrastructure, complicated ways of looking at data. Taking a step back and saying, how do I simplify how I look at data, how my infrastructure is laid out, that is very essential. Being transparent, understanding your data flows, your processes really well helps you, scale effortlessly. Or gracefully. I won't say effortlessly, but a little gracefully.
So we were obviously hinting towards it in the presentation, that this concept that content is king, right? If content is king, I would say data is queen, right? In relative to being able to understand our audiences. So I'd like to shift the conversation now into how you're using technology as well as artificial intelligence to be able to help to segment your users so you can really better understand them. So Jaya, maybe we'll start with you.
Sure. At FanDuel, we have customers that are coming in for many different sports. They bet in very different ways. Each of them have a particular preference of how they come in and interact with us. And for us, being able to look at groups of people and understand their motivations is key. So segmentation, of course, plays a very important role in how we think about, our customers, allowing them to have the best experiences, best ways to get to where they need to get to, and all of the tools and techniques that. What I've been surprised is are really easily transferable from media companies, from e-commerce companies into this industry as well. And so we leverage all of the tools.
Awesome. And then, Fraser, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think that working in product, I think there's always a lot of focus on the customer. The reality is there's no such thing as a customer, right? Like I think that's something that we've sort of done a lot with, there's multiple customers, all with different needs, all with different things. I think sports is like a really good example of that, where there's no such thing as a sports fan. There's people that are like so into sports that they are like upset about sports when it doesn't go their way. And there's other people.
My husband is one of those.
Well, yeah. I'm a Scottish football fan, so I'm mostly upset. But then there's the other end, which like people are just like engaging with sports because other people are too, and they don't want to be left out. And I think you mentioned the Olympics. The Olympics was fascinating with that because I think that it's not like Albert before talked about personalization and stuff. That's super cool. But the other sort of top spin on that is how people want to consume. Some people want to sit down and watch the entire game. Other people just want to be given the highlights of the game. Some people have got all the time in the world to watch all of the events, the Olympics. Everybody's an expert on curling overnight. But some people just want to go like, you know what, just give me all of the best things that happened. And like that's the beauty of all the tools that we have now. It's not just about personalizing the content in front of you, get the best movie. It's also about meeting them where they are. If I've got 30 seconds to spend, how can you get me what I want in 30 seconds? And I think that's a fascinating way to look at it. And I think the amount of content that's out there as well, you've got to be able to meet customers where they are using all the technology that's available.
Yeah, so I think you give that great example relative to sports. Earlier you were talking about how 70% of the other internet traffic was there, right? And
people
still
doing other stuff.
For doing other things. One of the things that we talked a lot about other people doing is gaming.
Yeah.
Right, so can you talk about some of the ways in which you're leveraging technology to really create those really addictive experiences for all those different types of customer personas that you just mentioned?
I think it's funny, we've been talking about gamification again. What is old is new.
I didn't say gamification.
No, you didn't, but it's fine. It was in the question to be prepared. But I think that I think we want our customers to use our products every day.
Right.
And they do. And when I think about sort of gamification, I think it's about it more like fun. Right. People race towards entertainment and fun, right? People run away from utility. So when you think about it through like how can you make things more fun, like there's loads of amazing ways you can do that, right? Boxing. For those boxing fans out there, if you're a Sky customer, you get to play along. You get to like who won round 1, who won round 3. It's a mysterious thing, boxing, right? But you can like play along. That's fun, right? We launched a product called Sky Live where you can have a camera and you can watch along the game with all your friends and family. That's fun, right? Multi-view, that's fun. Like it's another way of looking at it. Working with the PGA, like where are they going to hit the shot on the 17th green? Right. That's fun. It's about getting people to engage, and like what's better than watching sport is like participating, having skin in the game, having a bit of fun alongside. It can't get in the way of the core viewing experience, right? Of course. But like adding that extra, like I said that before, like that top spin, that like little bit of something that brings you back, or that just that little bit of fun is good. You tell your friends and family about fun products, right? You don't tell your friends and family about utility products. And that's true for Wi-Fi. We've got loads of stuff in that space as well. It just adds a little bit of fun to it. And I think that's what it's about, right? Whether you're playing games or you're watching sports, if you can get a little bit extra juice, like people like that, and that's what the job is.
Of course. And we're talking about getting people really engaged. I mean, this is FanDuel's bread and butter.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's all about fandom, right? It's about getting our customers to connect with and engage with teams that they love, players that they love, playing with their friends, engaging with their friends. So that's all about what FanDuel experience brings. So it's it's part and parcel of our product, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to shift now to recent innovations that have launched across the industry that have genuinely surprised you. I know we talked a lot about this in the prep. What's come out throughout the last year that has shocked you, delighted you?
Yeah.
And how are you incorporating it?
Yeah, I think it's just like I'm surprised that I'm surprised, I suppose, is what we talked about. I think that the thing that's amazing is just like my fundamental belief is like no one has an exclusive license in creativity. It just doesn't exist. I think and there's been a lot of focus around, you know, generative AI, around how you can be more efficient and effective. That's great, but I love how it's exploded in the world of creativity. And opens new doors to like creating new content. And I think that when you think about the entertainment space, people want to know what the story behind the story is. How can you get them into that extra bit of interactivity and engagement? So one thing that we've done is you take normal video, you can turn that into data, right? And then when you've got that data of where all the players are, where the ball is, all that good stuff, you can re-render that in any way you want using gaming engines and all that good stuff. And that is able to, for example, in the production at Sky, say, hey, if you thought Eric Harland's pass was good, wait to see what he saw. And because we've got all that data, you can look at how good his pass was, because you can actually re-render that through his eyes, through his view. And it was like an amazing pass, it was threaded. That's such a cool thing. And that would not have been possible without all this explosion in sort of the generative content side of stuff. So I think that's been really surprising, not just like, it's the speed of it and how people have embraced it and how it's able to tell that story behind the story and lets you sort of in behind the curtain to see what's going on. That's super cool, right? That's really exciting.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you. And Jai, I'd love to come to you.
I think like all of the new tools that are coming out that will help us look at data in much more details and be able to use that data to create signals that allow us to create good experiences. I think that's all emerging now with, you know, Gen I starting the process of, you know, doing a lot of these proof of concepts and things like that. I think I'm looking forward to how we can tease out insights out of data that are really hard to tease out at this point in time.
We were talking behind the scenes about audience signals that can be derived through clean rooms and some of the announcements that we made today and how important those are to the future. So last question. We're peering into the future. What emerging technologies do you think are going to fundamentally continue to shape the industry over the next 3 to 5 years? And how are you preparing for them?
I think Gen AI is going to make a huge dent in the way we think about content, the way we think about customer experiences as well, and allowing the customer to really think about what experiences they want. So these are all emerging things that will take a few years to really allow us to have the tools and techniques to do it much more simply, much more cost effectively.
Right.
And so that's an area that I'm really looking forward to seeing emerge in the future.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because, like, you know, all the people in the room here, we're into technology, we're at the forefront of it, and you know all the stuff like that's going on. Like, well, yeah, that's been happening for years, but it's just that's all the stuff we've been thinking about for the number of years. That's becoming mass market now, right? And I think actually I share a story. So I was my son George, who is obviously a savage and a maniac because he's 11. But I sat down and watched the Fortnite stuff with him this weekend.
Right. Specifically the Snoop Dogg and Spice?
No, first of all, it's amazing to see an 11-year-old being a Snoop Dogg and Eminem.
Right.
Like, love it, of course. But that is amazing. And I think that's entertainment. And that's the future of entertainment, is this idea of convergence. Like, he finds that as entertaining, and as I do actually, as sitting down and watching an amazing blockbuster movie. So, like, you know, there's lots of technologies, we've talked about them a lot, but some things never change, which is like people want to be entertained. Like, they want to spend the time, their most precious time, being entertained and having good fun and having great experiences. And that convergence of the world of gaming, the world of entertainment, all powered by awesome connectivity throughout your home, that's where it's at. And I think for me, at least, that's the thing that's going to be exciting, because some things never change, but the technology that's available is able to get unbelievably immersive and engaging experiences out there.
I also think it's so touching that you have this generational crossover too. Yeah. Like, you probably like Snoop Dogg and Eminem from earlier in your life, and now you're able to like view those experiences with your son. So great example.
Yeah.
Well, with that, I want to thank you, Fraser and Jaya, for sharing your insights and the importance and the implementations of modern data and technology to be able to continue to meet these evolving entertainment needs. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you. So in order for us to meet this moment of reinvention, we not only have to empower our customers with the right tools, but we have to also invest in all aspects of this industry. At AWS, we're proud to have over 900 partners for our media, entertainment, games, and sports organizations. We're representing all of the tools and services that our customers rely on every day. We also support organizations that promote fairness and equality. That's why we're very proud to partner with the WIC Network, RISE, the Female Quotient, Women in Games, as well as America on Tech to ensure more opportunities for that next generation. We also support over a dozen different industry consortia and standards bodies, including Movie Labs, the Society of Motion Picture and Television Engineers, as well as C2PA, just to name a few. And we also realize that training is incredibly important. And that's why we've launched a free digital training program focused on foundational knowledge for both our customers who care about direct-to-consumer and broadcast evolution, but also content production at large. This way we can, again, ensure that next generation of builder and developer is able to leverage the tools and services to meet this moment. So as I wrap today's session, I wanted to recap a couple quick points. The first is that the entertainment industry is in a state of reinvention. But reinvention means opportunity for those who are ready. I also wanted to emphasize that our team is working at the edge, learning from our customers and from our partners, and we're focused on being able to create innovations across every imaginable solution area and use case. And that's why AWS is here to help you meet this moment. Finally, I wanted to emphasize that everything we talked about here today is real. You can leverage the services, I'm sorry, can we go back a slide? You can leverage, or we could just say right here. Yeah, perfect. So everything that we talked about here today is real. You can leverage all of this in your organizations today. And I want you to understand that the opportunity to modernize and adapt is available to you. So let's take advantage of some of the trends we talked about. Finally, I wanted to provide these QR codes for you to emphasize that point about being real. So over the course of 2024, we've launched different guidances, network diagrams, demos across a multitude of different industry events. These QR codes will take you to many of the use cases that we talked about here today, so you can start to deploy them in your organizations. We also have many different live demonstrations that are available to you in the Venetian Expo Hall in the AWS Industries Pavilion. There, you're able to experience a live cloud production control room. We also have an AI alien that will draw your picture if you are into that. And I would also encourage you guys, don't miss the sports forum that's in Caesars Forum, where you can see a lot of the different sports leagues that we talked about here today in action. And while you have your phones out, please go ahead and take a snapshot of this. This is the catalog that we have that's focused on tracks specifically in media, entertainment, and games this week. You can go much deeper into the customer stories that we talked about today, as well as all the different technology discussions that we had in much greater detail. So with that, I want to thank all of you for joining us today in this Reinventing Entertainment session, and have a wonderful reInvent. Thank you.